Hey, this is Ray with Sober Without God, and I'm going to talk today about advice for the newly deconverted. If you have just deconverted from the faith and now you find yourself and you say, "Hey, I'm an agnostic or I'm an atheist," and I just realized that I want to talk to you today about that. And I'm going to talk today from my own experience, and I am not a mental health care professional. I don't deal with religious trauma. If you're dealing with religious trauma, or you have a problem, make sure you talk to your family care physician, or you talk to people who deal with religious trauma on a regular basis. The things I talk about are from my own personal experience. And so I'm not qualified to talk about these things on a professional level. But I do want to talk to you about the experiences that I went through when I became freshly deconverted. My own deconversion took over a period over 20 years. And so, but there was a day when I was like, hey, I don't believe in God anymore. And so I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that people who are newly deconverted have to deal with. And one of the big things that people have to deal with right away is they realize that there's no afterlife, and or they still have fear of hell. I hear that a lot. People say, I still have this horrible feeling that I don't believe, and what if I'm wrong? And there's still this place, a lake of fire. I remember that there was a guy I went to seminary with who now is in the upper echelons of the Southern Baptist life. And he said that he became a believer at the age of 5 because someone told him that hell was a lake of fire, and well, he couldn't swim. So he got saved so he wouldn't have to be in the lake of fire. But hell is a very, very frightening thing to thrust upon young children. And a lot of people say a prayer of salvation to avoid going to hell. And I've heard a lot of people say they have dreams about hell after they become deconverted because they're afraid that they will end up in hell. And that is called religious trauma. And I will leave a link below for a place that you can go to and you can text or you can call and you can talk to people for free about your religious trauma. Also, the afterlife is a hard thing to deal with. You know, suddenly you don't realize you don't believe in God, and you realize what happens after I die. Well, your chemical processes in your brain shut down, and so do you. And like Christopher Hitchens says, I'm not so upset that I'm gone. I'm upset that the party is going on without me. So it's like someone promised you $1 million. They've been promised you $1 million your entire life. And then suddenly they yank that rug out from under you and they tell you that there's no $1 million to be had. And that's kind of what it feels like. I encourage you to go to Seth Andrews' page on YouTube. He is a fantastic person to follow on YouTube, on Twitter, and everywhere else on the internet. And if you get to hear him speak, he's such a wonderful, soothing person. He has a video called Afterlife. And if you just type in Seth Andrews and Afterlife, and I'll leave a link below, he has a wonderful video about afterlife. And for people, especially who are newly deconverted, to watch that video, I would encourage you very strongly to watch that. I would encourage you to watch other videos. That's something else I would do. And you'll be hungry for knowledge if you've just deconverted. And just get out there and watch videos of other atheists, other ex-evangelicals, and the deconverted. And you won't know who you like and who you will like. You know, Matt Dillahunty and Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins, and there's the genetically modified skeptic and the Kentucky atheist and the line and all these different places you can go. There's so many channels out there you can go to and you can watch their content, and you will learn so much about being deconverted, and you'll learn about their stories and how similar their story is to your story. There's so many people, like, our stories are a dime a dozen, friends. They were raised in churches, or a lot of them weren't raised in churches, but a lot of them were raised in churches. And at some point in their adult life, they just started to look inward, and they started, a lot of them, a vast majority of them, reread the Bible and realized that there's no way this could be true. And I would encourage you to look out, find other people, read their stories. And that leads me to the next idea is find a sense of community in your area, especially. I know I found the Kentucky atheists here in Kentucky, where I live now, but you'll find people online. Some of the chat rooms on some of the places can be kind of strange, but you can find a community to plug into, and you can find people like you who've deconverted. Whatever platform of social media you want to use, you'll find people you can connect with and talk to. I think that's one of the biggest complaints that we have about leaving the church is that was a community that we had that nurtured us and that we hung out with and that was there for us in a time of struggle and a time of need. But you can also foster community online, and you can foster community in person with fellow people who've deconverted. And it may be more difficult depending on where you live. If you live in a very populated area, it's not going to be that hard. If you live somewhere like I do in the Bible Belt, it will be very difficult, and you may have to go online to find people. I would also encourage you to read. Um, I hope you enjoy reading. I would definitely recommend God is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens. I would recommend Carl Sagan's The Demon Haunted World. And I would recommend The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. And there's so many books out there that are just waiting to be read, and they'll challenge you, and you may read something and it may be an idea that you'd never thought about before. I would also encourage you just find a hobby. If you were a regular churchgoer, or if God and religion were such a big part of your life before, you may have a vacancy there, and you may have a hole in your life that you need to have filled there. Well, go find something to do and fill that time with another hobby. You don't have to be a hardcore agnostic or a hardcore atheist now. You can go out and go hiking or go bicycling, go do whatever, learn how to crochet. Who knows? Do something, but engage yourself with the world. Look at humanist philosophies. Find out what it is you can be doing in your community to make a difference, because I think that's at the heart of it. What a lot of atheists are about is doing the best we can with the life that we have now, because we only get one of them, and we don't have an afterlife, but we have this life that we're living right now. So let's make the most of it. So volunteer at a food kitchen, volunteer somewhere that you can make a difference, and go on a food drive or a clothing drive. Do something with your time that's meaningful. And I think you will find that you will understand and be a better person for it. Also, I would encourage you very strongly just to be yourself. Another question a lot of people I see ask is, should I tell people that I'm deconverted? Should I tell people that I'm an atheist or an agnostic? That's up to you. And a lot of times it depends on the situation you're in. And I would encourage you to reach out to people who have been deconverted a whole lot longer than I have. And I know some people, you may still be living with family, or you may be in a home that you share with other people who are religious. You may be in a work environment that is strongly religious, and you may not feel comfortable sharing that information. But above all, I would encourage you just to be you. I've found that most people don't ask, and I live in an area where people are all about Jesus, and I've been asked one time in my entire life about my faith. Well, since I moved to this part of the state, I've been asked one time, someone asked me what I believe now. And I was honest with them. And I said, well, I'll be honest with you, and I'll tell you if you really want to hear it. So just be yourself. And if someone's asking and they're wanting to have an open and honest conversation, you tell them. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know. And you don't have to have all the answers right now. And it's okay not to have the answers. And it's very freeing to say to people, I don't have the answer, but I can look it up for you, or I can try to find out. So I encourage you, if you are newly deconverted, if you are looking for answers, there are answers out there. And some of the answers we just don't know yet as a human race. But I encourage you to find a community, find people you can fit in with, and above all else, be yourself and find out what is true and believe in that. Good luck.